Alright guys, what's up? So if you wonder if you're seeing double, don't worry, you are, but it's for a good reason. Tonight I'm actually going to be building two PCs that are identical with the exception of the case color and the SSD that's going to go in them. So the first SSD we're putting in is one from a laptop that just isn't doing what it should be doing, and then the second SSD is a brand new PCIe Gen 4 SSD from Team Group that we're going to be sticking in as the primary in the second machine. So kind of an odd thing, but hey, when someone asks me to build two PCs, that's what I do. All right, so you have a lot of view options right now, a lot of cameras you can look at. So I guess what I'll just say is the one that you want to pay the most attention to is probably going to be that top-down view. But I gave you all the views just because things are going to be happening, and I don't have time to stop and adjust cameras for every little thing. So, and then also I do apologize, not every one of my cameras is incredible. So what you're going to be seeing is kind of a mix of some 1080p, some 4K. On YouTube, this will all show as 4K, but the top-down camera is a little gritty or grainy looking, as opposed to being actually extremely high quality. So we're going to start out by doing the first part of this build, which is just getting the motherboard put together with the RAM and the coolers. And we'll actually work on both boards at the same time, just because it's going to be pretty simple. Well, that's not true. I won't work on both boards at the same time because I still have to pull files off of the SSD on the laptop. So we'll get one completely built and then we'll work on the other one. How about that? And so the choice for this build, for these builds, is a Ryzen 7 9700X. And the reason that we went with that is because a 9700X is going to provide this customer power without sacrificing on core usage. So this customer is doing a lot of coding, programming, that kind of thing. She's very technical, and so basically what we're trying to do is make sure she's got enough processing power to be able to handle that, as opposed to what she currently has, which is a 10th gen Core i5, and that's at this point a 5-year-old Intel CPU. So we're gonna get her a good upgrade going to the 9700X. So start by popping this bad boy open. And I'm not going to go through and explain everything. There's plenty of build videos on YouTube, including build videos that I've done, if you really want to know how to build a PC. This is just going to be a build for the sake of building. And since I've been through 500,000 of these, it should be pretty straightforward. So this kit is going to have, each build's going to have 32 gigs of RAM. And we went with non-fancy, non-rainbow RAM, but just because it costs more. And I don't really think she cares about that. She thinks she cares more about the performance of the computer. Like I said, it's not really going to be used for gaming. It's going to be used for coding. And those are pretty resource-intensive activities when you're coding on a machine like that. Running big queries and working in AWS and things like that. Knowing from experience, I work on a laptop from my main gig that barely holds it together with 32 gigs of RAM on a 10th gen processor. I'm overdue for an upgrade at this point on my work PC, but that's the company's problem, not mine. All right, got that cap pulled off the CPU, got the RAM installed. Let's get this. Let's get the SSD stuck in this bad boy, and then we'll start working on the cooler. How about that? That's not going to work, so we're going to go with the LTT precision screwdriver, because I don't have that bit in currently for the other. Some of these are toolless now for these SSDs when you install them, where you don't even have to use a screwdriver. All you really have to do is stick it in and click the cover back on. Now, it does look like I left the screws inside the box that we need, so I'm going to set the motherboard down here, open up the box, dig around for the tiny bag of screws, which I don't really have to dig for because it looks like it's just right there. And it's just one screw. There's one thing I do like about a lot of these motherboard designs now is that most of them are toolless, so it makes it very, very easy to get your SSD installed. I primarily see that on MSI and Asus boards, some of those higher end ones. So let's see, get that teeny tiny screw out of there. There we go. And I'll just stick that on the end of my screwdriver and set that there for a second while I open up this SSD. Now, I went with a Team Group SSD to save her some money. They're just as good, and they have a 5-year warranty on them, in my opinion, as a Western Digital, and they actually do pretty good. So I know it's not a PCIe Gen 5, which is the latest and greatest, but a PCIe Gen 4 still performs at really good speeds. So it's a Team Group MP44L. Then the other one she has is a Team Group, it's a Western Digital Black SN850, I believe. Let's go on in the other machine. So both good SSDs. I think she'll be pretty happy. And she can upgrade her storage on down the line if she wants more storage capacity. It's funny, she asked me as well if she could play Call of Duty on this, and I said, yeah, you can, but it's not going to be a great experience. And the reason it's not going to be a great experience is because this is not going to have a graphics card in it. And the reason we're not doing a graphics card is because it adds an extra $500 to the budget. And this PC comes in at just under $980 for this exact build. So all right, so we have the SSD, the RAM, and the CPU all installed now. Now, the most challenging part of this build is doing the fans and not the fans, but you know what I mean. It's actually taking care of the cooler. We do have to put a custom cooler on this guy. Because it's a Ryzen 7, it's going to require a little bit more beefy of a cooler. But luckily, there is a beefy cooler on the market that's a lot less than a bog standard. It's called the Thermaltake Peerless Assassin, and it has gained crazy popularity because, or not Thermaltake, I'm sorry. Thermaltake doesn't get the credit for this. Thermalright Peerless Assassin, and it's one of the most affordable while also being basically silent, and not just silent, but super well performing. It keeps everything really nice and cool, and we didn't go with a Ryzen 9, so I'm not really worried about liquid cooling. I think that would kind of be overkill for this build, so we won't be liquid cooling. We'll just be doing this. Let me set this down. Basically what you have is a little thing with brackets in it. And you have the main beefy guy. This is what sits on top of your CPU. And it's a dual cooler, it's a dual fan module. So what I like to do is put one in the middle and then one at the back, because the one at the front tends to interfere with the RAM and the positioning of the RAM. And I hate that, so I don't do that. And again, guys, I've done enough of this that I pretty much know what to grab out of here without having to look too much. Try to keep it all clean here so that don't create too much of a mess here on the table, but inevitably it happens anyway. see, this is the AMD stuff. The red brackets are, they don't package them separately. They've got AMD and Intel together. So we don't need rear brackets because we don't have Intel. We can use the factory brackets, but we'll pull out these fan clips and toss those Intel brackets aside. Okay, so we're gonna start out by using, we have an AM5 socket here, but we're using an AM4 setup for these, for the brackets because they work. And the only other ones that are in here that are offered are Intel. And we're not doing Intel. So, AM4 and AM5 still fit the same criteria. And then AMD stuff, you dump it out the end, it's got the red. That's the idea, is that you got red and then you got blue. And that's really all there is to it. Okay? So, set those down there, try to keep everything from rolling away. And then we'll get cooking here. So they're labeled AM4 on one side, and then so if it's an AM4 socket, you use AM4 face up. If you don't want AM4, you flip it over, and it's just blank on the other side. So that's the AM5 side. So again, we put our little nubs in place here, all facing the correct direction. Take our brackets and we stick them in here. Oops. Our little thumbs, our little screws, we stick them in here. In with the brackets. This is a really straightforward thing, guys. It's not crazy. After this, I just usually like to dry fit it and make sure that I'm doing it the right direction, because sometimes I get it wrong. But I'm pretty sure they both arc towards the CPU, like that. And again, I'm just thumb tightening the screws to begin with, so I can dry fit this and make sure that it actually works. All right, so I like to go like this and like this, just set it down on top and make sure I've got that on there correctly. Let's see, I can't really tell based on the camera, but from a top-down perspective, because I don't have that at the moment, but you guys do, it looks like it's going to be just fine. So we'll go ahead and tighten things up here. Scooter on back in. And also you'll notice that this camera here follows me. That's intentional. They say it's AI powered and follows you around because it's AI powered. I'm like, whatever, I don't care about the AI aspect of it. I do like that it follows you around though. That camera is the best one out of the bunch, the one that I'm talking to currently. It is the OBSBot Tiny 2, and the only one I have that doesn't constantly seem to autofocus. A lot of my other videos that I shoot are done in less of a stream style, more of a first-person point of view when you're actually looking at things. But tonight I decided to do something a little different and just do a stream style because it's been a while. And I'm building 2 PCs, so it's kind of hard to go through and do everything non-stream style and edit, and it'll just take forever to get this video out to you guys if I do it that way. So we're not doing it that way. All right, and to install this guy, I like to use the extender because it actually makes it really easy to stick the screwdriver down in there, start turning, and you know what, before I do that, what mistake did I make, guys? Did not put thermal paste on the CPU, and I didn't pull this off. So be smarter than me when you first do this and apply your thermal paste. And they give you a teeny tiny amount. You can tell that that plunger doesn't go anywhere. But I'm gonna do is an X across it, like this. I lift and then I go to the other side. And then if there's still room, I'll do a dot there. A dot there. A dot there. Maybe. This, I don't really like this thermal paste. And a dot there. There we go. It's probably overkill on thermal paste, to be honest, but it's better to have overkill than not enough. As long as your overkill doesn't run into your CPU socket, you're safe. Right? Okay, and that's the wrong way. I didn't want it mounted that direction, so we'll take it back here. Flip it this way. I want the writing to go this way. The great thing about these builds is both of them are highly upgradable. And that was the other aspect of this that my customer wanted, was something that was going to be upgradable in the future. So she wasn't stuck necessarily on one platform. Someone told her that her CPU and things were upgradable on the laptop, which is incorrect, as you may well know if you're watching this channel. CPUs are integrated with the actual motherboard on a laptop, so that's why that didn't work. Okay, we're at the point now where I like to put the motherboard in the case, and so this is going to be the black one because I'm assuming she's going to use the white case. And so what I want to do is take her WD black drive and put that in the white case for her, and we still have to pull data off of that. So what I'm going to do right now is get the case out of the box here, get it set up, and we're going to set this other Peerless Assassin box aside for now and scooch this over here because there's a little bit of activity involved with undoing the, well, not undoing, but pulling the case out. All right, and for the case, we went with the NZXT H5 Flow. Good airflow case, especially if you're using the Peerless Assassin, because it allows for a lot more air to be pulled through. It includes a couple of really good fans. I think you get the rear exhaust fan, and you get that fan that comes up from the bottom. This is the 2024 model. So it's all in all, really nice case, really inexpensive, about $98 or $99. I think this one was $94, if I remember right. But proper way to open your case is open the top flap, flip the box over, and pull the box off. And there's cardboard handles that you gotta basically pull out. So they tend to lock the case into the box if you don't. There you go. Box aside. And beware of the static electricity. It's definitely real. And very annoying. Coming off that styrofoam. And I have the computer completely upside down right now. So when in Rome, I'm going to pull the plastic back like so. Throw the user manual away because who needs that? No judgment if you need the user manual. I just don't. You build enough computers and it's not rocket science once you've done it a million times. Alrighty, so first thing I like to do is pop the back cover off, and you got to pull out the, there's a box back here, and the box houses all of your screws and everything like that. And let's see, how's it in here right now? Yeah, I have it. They've changed the way it goes. It used to have a SSD tray down here. The box would go in, and I think it still does. It's just it's a 2.5-inch SSD tray now, as opposed to a 3.5-inch, so it doesn't just slide out. You have to take the twist ties out, and then it works. But then you just lay the computer case on its side. You pull that front cover off, which should just be a yank. No real screws with these NZXT cases, which makes it nice. And now you're ready to build. So then you take your PC, and in NZXT cases, the standoffs are already set up for ATX boards, which is what we're using. So literally just fits right into place. Slide it onto the standoffs. Make sure your rear IO shield or your IO shield on the back matches up just fine, and then you're good to go. So let's grab the screws out of the little box here. I really need to go to Harbor Freight and get one of those little magnetic tool things, or magnetic parts holders, just because my LTT precision screwdriver kit lid is always full of the laptop projects that I'm working on. But alternatively, take the little box, dump screws into little box for motherboard. And then you just start screwing things up. Once you get a couple screws in the computer, you can actually turn the computer on its, like stand it back up if you want to, if you're not a big fan of having it on its side like this. And this right here is why I'm using the extension. You can see that my screwdriver, if you're looking at one of the, well, maybe you can't. If you're looking at one of the cameras, you might be able to see that my screwdriver is actually a little sideways here, and if I didn't have the shaft extension, it wouldn't work. So for these screws that are right up against the back of the case anyway, it wouldn't work. All right. Stick this guy here. Stick my head down over the top here. All right, now I'm gonna stand it up to do the last of the screws here. Now, if you watch the one camera right here, you'll actually see me do the rest of this pretty easily. Not that it matters too much, again, because this isn't a build guide video. This is just me hanging out, building computers. Let's see, we got one. I would have expected a second one towards the bottom there, but I don't see. Oh, there it is. Right there. I was like, where's my second one? I know it's in here. Okay, and the last one, and my least favorite one, is the one that's right up next to that CPU power port. Alrighty. Motherboard is officially in and not going anywhere. But I'm not going to smack it and say that's not going anywhere. The next step here is let's get the power supply put up in here. And then the reason I like to do the power supply next is because reaching over fans and trying to get stuff when, you know, the cooler fans are all installed and everything, kind of a headache, and I don't really like to deal with that. So what I'd like to do next is the power supply. Let's see here. And the power supplies we went with were the Corsair RM850Xs. Solid choice. If she does decide to put a graphics card in it in the future, should power a mid-range card with no problems. And there's just so much plastic when you're building a PC that just, it goes everywhere. It's really annoying. And throw it in the PC box there for now. Alrighty. So I'm actually gonna flip this around so I can see this side, because this back side is actually where my focus needs to be. But I'll start by pulling the cables out. Of course, they put the power cable right on top. We'll take that because that has the 4 screws we need. And here's the power supply cables. And because we're doing sort of a minimalistic build, all we really need is CPU and your 24 pin for this. We don't even need SATA. We don't need PCIe. I can plug PCIe in just in case she does get a GPU in the future. But if she does, maybe she'll come back to me to put it in. Who knows? But rather than be a jerk that's going to take that chance, I'm going to put that cable in for her on her power supply anyway. It's just a little hard because the PCIe cables are, if you get an NVIDIA one, you go with the 12 volt high power. If you get an AMD card, then you end up going with the regular PCIe setup. So it's like, well, who knows what she's going to end up getting. So, and there is limited space for PCIe cards. So actually, I'm probably just going to leave the PCIe cards out of it. But yeah, we don't even need a SATA cable because there's no SATA drives or SATA accessories. It's all just really basic. So this has got to be the most simple build I've done in quite a while. Only having to hook up 2 things to the power supply is insane. All right, and that's PCIe. That's also PCIe. Where is my CPU cable? CPU, there we go. Plug in the CPU power connector right here, and boom. All right. So basically all of these other power cables can just go back in the Corsair box there. And this power cable is the new power cable she has to use with the new PC. Can't use a power cable from another one. I mean, not that it matters because she's going from a laptop to a desktop, so it's not like she can anyway, because the power cords are very different between those 2 things. And this is one thing I haven't been liking about these newer Corsair power supplies. I don't want the power supply to vent towards the top. I like it to vent towards the bottom, but this is designed in such a way that it forces you to vent it towards the top. But again, there's ventilation at the top and there's not on the bottom on this case, which is also unusual. So we'll go with the flow. We'll do what it says to do. And I like that Corsair is using some recyclable material now instead of putting everything in little plastic baggies. Makes a big difference. I'm still a little annoyed that there's so much plastic and paper. I feel like all of it could just be thrown in one box and call it a day. Again, I don't tighten all of the screws all the way. At least not at first, because you want to make sure they all go in to begin with. Okay, and 4. back through and retighten. Go back here and retighten. And just double check on number 4 after you've done the others. All right. So again, 24-pin power connector. Very basic. Corsair has this nice little cable management channel that they, or not Corsair, my bad guys. NZXT has this nice little cable management channel. So you stick your power cable through there, pull it back, make it nice and tight, and Velcro. And you do the same thing up here. Pull this out, put your cable through, push it back through here, and Velcro. And I don't really use the top one because this cable actually has to go out into the case now. So stick the cable out into the case. And I'm just gonna let it hang there for a minute. And then we'll get the CPU power. For the CPU power, I just like to tuck it in the back here. Now there's also another typical cable back here. It's for this rear fan. You just pull that rear fan cable out. And then there's a Velcro strap back there too. But the rear fan cable is usually set with a twist tie. You pull that twist tie. Make that cable nice and straight. I don't like that. That's there. It adds bulk to it that doesn't need to be there. But I don't really want to. Don't do this part at home. There we go. I at least just want the cable to be a little less bulky. So then what I do is I take the fan cable and the CPU cable, I route it up through this back channel here. And CPU cable I'll plug in before I actually strap it down. Because again, fan and all that kind of stuff. And again, you're not going to see this part because I'm right here. And the easier way to actually allow you to see this part is NZXT's new H5 flow cases actually have a top that pops off. So now you can see, and as a builder, you get a little bit easier access to everything. Maybe. At least get a different vantage point. When you use these chunky coolers like this, that stick out quite a bit, it can be challenging to get big meaty man hands in there, like what I have. And so it's important to make sure just got a clear line of sight to everything. Alrighty, here we go. So we're gonna shove this all down in here. Take your Velcro strap, run it through right here up against the motherboard, pull it tight, and Velcro. And we're good. There's not an excessive amount of cable hanging out inside the case. Again, it's a black case. You're probably not even seeing that too well. So I am sorry about that. But that is what it is, unfortunately. Now this fan cable, this is just a rear exhaust fan. I like to run this down underneath, and there's usually a spot or two, like a header on the bottom of the board just for system fans. Plug that into the system fan header, and there you go. And boom. So now the 24-pin cable is plugged in. We can pull back the excess and just push it down back into the bottom bay of the case here. Because we don't want an excessive amount of cabling hanging out into our main case area. Nobody likes that. we go. All right, beautiful. So now all I have to do is put the CPU fan in, and we are good to go. That's enough, Willow. And when I say CPU fan, I mean CPU fans. There's 2 of them for this big cooler, because it's the only way it can stay super efficient like that. And I know I just used a twist tie on that, and I could have used a zip tie. I don't know why I did that, aside from that they're more readily available, and it's one less package I have to rip open. You do have to hook up your front I/O here as well, and fish all that through. That's easy though. NZXT makes your front panel connection simple. They just combine it into one big thing, because it should be anyway. HD Audio runs that audio port on the front of your computer, so that, like that headphone jack or whatever it is. I don't know who makes use of the headphone jack on the front of the computer. I'm sure somebody does. I never have. So if that's you, let me know in the comments if you make use of that audio jack. Ooh. Strange. This board's HD audio port is actually white on the bottom that you plug into, and I'm not used to that. All right. Yeah, FAUD stands for front audio. We're good on that end too. All right, and then you've got your USB 3.0 port, and you can see that this is twist tied in the corner. I don't know why they put the twist tie there, but they always do. For a 3.0 port, I don't know. There it is. Like, I know it's usually, it's either at the very bottom or it's right up towards the 24 pin connector here. Okay, and last but not least, front panel, and this is a USB-C. Front panel always goes up underneath, right here, and then there. Beautiful. USB-C. This one I might actually have to untie it for. Nope, USB-C sits right there. It's kind of in the middle of the board. And that's an easy one to have upside down by mistake. There we go. The USB-C makes a defining click, which I do like. And then one more system fan cable. And again, there's another header at the bottom here. You should just be able to run that too for a system fan. Let's see. You know, I might not actually have a second system fan header at the bottom of the board. I think I only have the one. Oh well, I'm sure there's another system fan header up towards the top. Yeah, there's a couple of them. Not a huge deal. Just run that cable up here. This portion, we'll plug it in here. And there we go. Alrighty, so as you can see, that's pretty well cable managed. You don't usually end up having to pull this down. It looks pretty decent back here, so there's not a lot of crazy stuff going every which way. It's pretty much the 2 or 3 cables that run across. You've got your main cable here and your CPU. If you had a PCIe, it would add a little bulk to the underside, but realistically, all you're doing is plugging in another cable and running it up through the bottom so that that GPU actually runs. So that's it for this. I'm gonna turn this around and put the fans in, and that's gonna be something you guys will get to see, because that's the part everybody's been waiting for, right? That's the crazy final last step here. So you get 2 fans with this cooler setup. And the great thing about these 2 fans is that they mount directly to this big metal behemoth of a cooler. Now you can put it like this and then one here. I don't like to do that because I like to have one at the back here, where right in front of that back fan. I like the fans to actually be seated all the way back in the PC like that. That way it's not, if anyone comes to work on your computer and they ever need to access the memory, or say they want to unplug this cable for your fan, or there's a fan that's gone bad, it just gets in the way. All your headers are at the front of the motherboard here, towards the front of the case. So I like to keep your fans located in the middle and the back, and it'll vent out just fine with no issues. So the first thing we're gonna do is take this, there's this splitter here, and the splitter splits from the CPU fan header, and you just take your one fan and you stick it on there to begin with, okay? And then what you're gonna do is take these little grippy grips and you plug them through the holes here and here. In the top. And then you're gonna do the same on the bottom actually. And so I know this looks like it's backwards, but here's the idea, okay? The idea is that when the air comes into the front of the case, what's gonna happen is that air is gonna pull through this cooler that direction. So depending on which camera image you're looking at, it looks a little funny. But if you're looking at, again, this one right here, you'll see I'm saying front to back. And that's exactly what we want, because there's a fan down here, and that fan is gonna shoot that air back, and then these 2 fans are gonna pull cool air in from outside through the cooler. And so, again, it looks like I'm putting it backwards. I'm totally not. And these aren't fancy RGB fans either, so you don't have to worry about colors looking, you know, there being a big black thing there and it looking gaudy. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about that. It's gonna look just fine. It's gonna be pretty aesthetically pleasing, actually. This is a pretty good looking cooler for how cheap it is. You really do get the most bang for your buck with this cooler, I'm telling you. It's cheap, but it's really efficient. All right, so like I said, push it back there as far as you can, and you're gonna hear a click at the top and a click at the bottom once you've got them in place. All right, that's in place fully, and we're still split here, so our cable splitter's right here. So that fan is done and mounted to the cooler. Now the next one, we're gonna do a lot the same way. The only difference is that we're gonna put the brackets facing that direction now, instead of facing this way, because we want it to mount to the other side of this one heat dissipation thing. I don't know. Okay, go. Been a while since I've done a full build video like this. I don't actually expect this to do super great in views, but we'll see. especially since I'm doing 2 of them. Now, the one benefit to this is that it's going to be incredibly efficient, or, you know, incredibly, it's 2 builds in 1 shot. So there we go. Plug that cable in there so that our splitter is all good to go. And then you take your CPU fan splitter and you plug it into the CPU fan header. And that's all she wrote. Actually, sorry, I plugged it into the CPU optional header. CPU fan header is the gray one right next door. There we go. All right, and then what I like to do is just take this excess cable once you actually have your fan mounted, and kind of tuck it back in behind there. It's not a ton, it's a little bit, but it's enough that it's annoying to have it hanging inside of the case there like that. All right, so again, it's much the same way. You take your fan, you push it as far back as it'll go, and you take your clips, and you clip to the top there, like so, like that. And you take your bottom clip, you know what's crazy is there was this video I watched in health class, and I think it was like either elementary or junior high, and this one lady kept saying, like so, the whole time. And so I can remember the whole class was like so, by the end of the class, and it was a riot for sure. And no, I'm not 50. A riot is just me picking up on my parents' old people language. I could say it was a hoot. 'Twas a hoot and a half. All right, there we go. This computer, folks, is built. It's ready to go. So we're gonna slide this top panel back on here. And there we are. We have a built PC that's spec'd out exactly the way that we talked about. So this has 32 gigs of RAM with a Ryzen 9 7900X, or Ryzen 7 9700X. Sorry, I was getting them mixed up there. And you know what? I have zip ties. I'm going to zip tie that to the bracket there because I don't like the way that that's sitting. So we're going to take this Corsair zip tie package that I still have left over from another build. I'm going to just slap a zip tie on those cables. They look like they want to try to go back into the case, and I don't want that. Or into the front of the case, and I don't want that. Just bundle up the wires here. Take the zip strip, as I call it. Other people are trying to make me say zip tie for some reason. Take the zip strip and zip it. Right there. Put that cable in place. And then, where's my little snipper? I have snips around here. I don't like to leave them hanging this way either. I like to snip them off. I just used my snips like yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just use my pair of scissors, I guess. I have these little blue snips and they're perfect for doing this kind of thing. But scissors will work too. All right, there we go. So now we'll just take the back cover, slide that on. And I don't have to worry like Linus. Linus never boots his PCs before. He always worries about putting the cover on before everything's actually tested on a bench, but I'm not going to worry about that. I actually haven't had that problem for quite some time. I'm going to do the peel here though real quick. Oh yeah. That's just the inside peel. I'll leave the outside peel for my customer. Who doesn't like pulling new plastic off of something? All right, I'm gonna go slap this on the bench and put Windows 11 on it real quick. All right, guys, we are back here for part two. Part two. And I just set that SSD down on top of the... I got the SSD. Oh, we got a camera that's not doing what it's supposed to here. There we go. See me. All right, we're back for part two. And basically, we got the SSD out of the laptop, so we are good to go. We'll get the process started with this next computer here. Get the second build built. And we'll just take the empty motherboard box off the table, stuff it over there, and start the new one. Again, identical to the last one, really no different. Grab that tiny little bag with the one individual screw in it that we need. Right there, right there. And actually, while I have the opportunity to do so, I'll fold this anti-static bag up, shove this one underneath it here, and I'll pull this guy. Set that there as gently as possible. All right, now we're ready to start building. Okay, so kind of like we did the first time. First thing I'm going to put in is the CPU. Of course, my knife is in my pocket. So, I got that 9700X going in. Try not to drop on the pins because I don't want to bend pins. I didn't, but it's really hard to grip this new CPU sometimes. All right. It's also the end of a very, very long day. Very, very long day. A lot of people in and out of here today. All right, that's the old RAM box. Not all these things we need to hold on to. When you have multiple builds, I mean, it's not like the RAM's going to go bad. It does. RAM does go bad. It's not a given that it's going to go bad. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But doesn't mean you have to hold on to the box. RAM is warranted too. So, also, if you've never built a computer before and you're worried about warranty on such things, yeah, this is stupid. That sticker was keeping it in there. If you're worried about a warranty on such things, most computer parts have more than a single year warranty. Now, if you have a full computer, a company is really only willing to warranty your computer for 1 year because there's lots of parts from other manufacturers in their computer, and they don't want to guarantee it longer. Because any one of those components could go bad, and then they have to replace it. Free of charge, of course. Oh, that's backwards. Didn't pay attention to my orientation there. Okay, that's in, so we'll get the small screwdriver here, and we'll open this M.2 slot up. Holy crap. Someone wrenched on that, that's for sure. Pull the peel. Oh, I hate that things static stick to you. All right, then we got the new, well, it's the new one because she just got it for that PC, but it's the SN850 WD black drive. Slide that in there. Then we got our teeny tiny screw here. Dump. Come on. It's magneting to the screwdriver already. It's like, Papa? Papa, is that you? Screw that in. There we go. Push that in there. Boom. All right, that part's done. Next step, taking out these initial plastic brackets that come with it. You guys know where it goes from here. Just watch me do the same thing. Okay, guess I didn't turn that one enough. There we go. All right, pull the plastic thingy off here. There we go. And we have our Thermalright Peerless Assassin. We'll get that opened up here. One bad mamma jamma. A box of screws that go in it. Actual big unit again. And then we've got our fans. Put that there. Whoops. Peerless Assassin. That's a pretty cool name for a cooler. All right, now bracket time. Again, just like I showed you guys before, we're gonna do those red nubs on here first. Oh heck. I'll just do a quick snip snip. Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I should voice this over later and just build and get it done, or if I should actually let you guys keep the audio that I have with it. It's not terrible, it's just kind of long. And if I fast forward the video, you can still watch me build. It just goes a lot quicker. Don't need a screwdriver for anything. Or not a screwdriver, a pair of skizzers. Process is really quite fast. When you do enough of these, it goes very quick. So, some of you, I have actually mentioned this in the past, but I officially have a nonprofit organization now that is devoted to helping kids that are in foster care. And have graduated high school and are going to college. And so the nonprofit that I have is actually set up to provide laptops at no cost to those kids. And the reason that they stand out so specifically in my mind is because I was a foster kid at one point. And I grew up in foster care most of my childhood. I was in 3 different foster homes, and you know, foster children are not necessarily afforded all of the same opportunities. I was very fortunate because I was afforded a lot of opportunity as a foster child. I wound up with a really great family who cared for me and loved me really well. So, all that being said, the goal of this is to help kids who are in foster care, come from a low-income situation, like with parents who just never really made much, and then also It's not just for kids that are going to college. It's also for kids that are going into a trade like automotive or something of that nature, so that they can automotive, plumbing, electrical, all those things, because you know all those things still require some kind of a certificate or something like that, and it's really hard to obtain one of those kinds of certificates without having a computer, because oftentimes you have to study, write papers, blah blah blah, even if you're going for a certificate. So all that to say, I've started a nonprofit. It's been really tough because I've gotten a couple of donations from some friends that I'm really close with, monetary donations, but that's not really what I'm going for right now. I don't need the money just yet. Realistically, what I'm looking for is I need broken laptops to fix. The money is great because it'll help us fix those broken laptops, but for some reason no one wants to part with their junk. The computers that they keep in a closet and don't ever touch, or things like that. What I'd really like to do is, if you're an organization, I'm going to throw this out there. If you're an organization or you're part of an organization that has a ton of computers or has some kind of a service you could offer that allows kids to have easier access to software, things like that, I'm all ears, and I would be willing to chat with you. Comment your name and stuff down below, because honestly, I'm just trying to help other people. So I'm gonna go grab that case real quick. We're gonna get this popped in there. And kind of like I said before, these are twin builds. So basically what that means is they're the exact same machine. And there's only two differences, and that's the SSDs that are in them, as well as the case that's in it. Or not that's in it, but the case that's being used. This here is the white NZXT case. Sure those cardboard handles are out of there. Feels like the one on the right side over there is actually ripped out already. So makes this a little easier. And I can just do that. And I'll drop this box back over there. We got a lot more static here again, because of stupid styrofoam. That's one form of packaging I could live without for the rest of my life, because there's like literally no way to break it down in a residential capacity. All right, now we'll flip this over so it's standing right side up. Pull everything else off. Toss the cardboard. And there we go. We got more plastic junk to throw away later. So, anyway, back to what I was saying. Nonprofit. If you or someone you know has a computer they're not using anymore, that's less than 7 years old, well, donate it, because we can use it. It's about the kids, man. I don't know what NZXT was smoking when they put this box in here, but they didn't put the twist tie in an accessible position. There we go. Stupid twist tie. All right, box is out. Take the plastic off of the wiring here. More plastic and twist ties. Just throw that over there. All right. Set her down. Pop the top. Okay, we got our screw box here. They didn't change the color of the screws. Oh no, dropped a couple of the screws we don't need. They're the 2.5-inch screws. When they come out, they really go everywhere. It's really annoying. All right, there we go. Screws in a box. Pick up motherboard. Drop it in, line it up, just like before. Like so. We already got our shaft extension applied. So we'll just stand. And get things put together. Dude, this screwdriver makes things so much easier. Just in general. Way to be, Linus. Never knew this is what I needed until I had it. It's a little strong on the magnetic pull up against a case, but I would prefer that versus it not being that way. Ugh. Come on. Okay. I think we have 2 screws left to put in here. And they're the tippy top. So what I'm going to do is set this upright and sit back down. I am still here. Yo, down here. Yeah, right here. Thank you. All right. This is the customer I'm texting right now. Do you want files restored to both computers? Question mark. Got to ask those questions because you never know. All right, so the next step, like I did last time, power supply. Ugh. That's one thing. I wish that they came with like movable feet because it's hard to move a rubber. Like you don't want your desktop moving around, of course, when it's on a desk, but like when you're building it, you sure do. I thought about just printing up a little dolly with wheels to put on the bottom of these things. Which one? Which one? Question mark. White or black? More plastic. So sick of the plastic. You can tell that my desk is getting way messier here. And this is usually how it is. It turns into a bit of a disaster after one build. But this is nothing because realistically, this could be liquid cooled with fans of all kinds, and this is not that way. These builds are tame and easy, and they're going to be pretty simple to clean up after in the end. And same as the last build, we don't really need anything too fancy. All we need is, I'm going to leave this PC power cable out because I like to throw the power cables in the box for the customer just to make life easier. All we need is that 24-pin connector and then one CPU connector, which is that. So everything else back in the box. And the screws. Of course we need the screws. Get out our power supply, and we'll close the box back up. The other thing I need to get out of the motherboard boxes is the Wi-Fi antenna, because she's definitely going to prefer to have the Wi-Fi antenna out. This is a Wi-Fi based board. That's the wrong phone to be checking. Did not write me back. Okay, that's fine. Didn't require to be written back on that one. So where did I set that? There it is. More plastic junk. See, this is what I don't understand. Why do we have to wrap this in plastic? Like, it's not protecting anything. It's already in a box that's wrapped in plastic too. So what is anybody gaining from that? Literally nothing. Alright, like to straighten this guy out. Move the comb a little closer. And we'll plug it in. And we'll do the same thing with our CPU power here. Unwind the twisty tie. Or maybe I'm winding the twist. You know, sometimes I can never tell. All right. Undo that. That's the side that says CPU. That's the side that looks like it goes in the power supply. Bloop. Pop it in the back here. Now that we know which direction it's supposed to go in. And we got our cute little bag of, a cute little paper bag of screws. Just rip it open and dump them out. Unextend our shaft here. This time, I'm just trying to get done. So I am screwing these in all the way. I might regret it later. I might end up having to go back and do it again. But they look like they're lined up perfectly, so I'm not really too worried about it. Between NZXT and Corsair, they both make great products that line up and are pretty solid, and they're just brands I don't second guess. Now, when it comes to board manufacturers, I think Gigabyte is that way too. I don't usually second guess Gigabyte boards, just because they've always just reliably worked. Sure, they might not be the most flashy, have the most everything, like an Asus board or something like that, but not everybody needs that. Do versus pushing and pulling like I did on the last one, I'm gonna take this and we're just gonna plug it in before we get to that stage, and then we'll pull all the extra slack back and then manage the cable like this. Fairly straightforward. Then you can just take your cable slack and shove it in here. All right, and we're gonna do the same kind of deal we did on the last one. Pull the Velcro, you got the same fan cable with the same annoying, stupid thing on it that I'm still gonna pull too. Again, don't do this at home. Because you might slice your fan cable. And no, I'm not calling you dumb. Scissors are probably the easier way to go about doing that. And I have a pair right next to me, I'm fully aware. But I also don't care. I like to do things the difficult way. Like putting this CPU power in, because I don't want to be taking the lid off of the thing and putting it back on. Even though it's a better vantage point, it just makes more sense. All right, those cables are in there. I'll route this one up right now. Plug it in the bottom. Excuse me. And then just like the last one, I'm gonna add a twist tie. Crazy, right? Crazy. Crazy that it's so simple, it's right there. But it works. It works well. I'm just gonna tuck it up under there so it's not a problem. All right, beautiful. Now, we've got these cables. Oh, our HD audio up and under. Got our front panel connector. Actually, I'm going to do our next fan cable because that goes up here. This one I don't think I can stretch. Yeah. They tied this a lot lower than they tied the last one, so. Or at least they gave us a lot less slack. So unfortunately, I have to undo that beautiful cable management just for the fan cable because it's silly. System fan header. But I can still cable manage a little higher up by taking this case, twist tie, and twist tying it right through here. Because there's another notch up here. And so I'm going to do that just like this. We're going to take it like that, twist her real good. And tuck it. The old twist and tuck. All right. Front panel connector. Right there. USB 3.0 and USB-C connections for the front. Actually, this is USB 3.2, excuse me. Not 3.0. And that works for now because we don't have a GPU plugged in. But if later on down the road she wants to add a GPU to this build, she could. And again, this is plenty powerful to run whatever she wants that way. But we do our fan splitter. We got our brackets for our fans right here. And it feels like this build has not taken nearly as long as the last one did. But the last one I was actually trying to show you guys stuff, and that's on me. Build a PC in 30 minutes, basically, with this one. All right, got that going there. We're gonna do the center fan first this time. Not that it really matters which fan gets done first, because it really doesn't make too much of a difference in the end. In the end, it doesn't even matter. Go. Take our fan, we'll slide it all the way back into the middle here. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Fan number 1 done. Fan number 2 going in. And again, I'm gonna plug that into the splitter before actually hooking it up there. There we go. That way that part's already done, and then all I have to do is plug it into the CPU fan header once it's all situated. There's that. And perfect. Everything's all mounted up there. CPU fan header. And done. Flip it back around. Pinch these together right here like I had before on the last one. And I do have an open baggie of zip strips down here in the desk. Pull that out. Stick the zip strip through. A little hole here, which can be kind of challenging at times. Push it around. All right, and she's built. And she's basically identical to the last one, which is wonderful. Take our cover, put that back on. You know what's crazy is that the computer that she was using before, the laptop, is a great laptop, don't get me wrong. It's an ROG, it's not ROG, my bad. It's a Asus TUF gaming laptop. Why is this not screwing in? Oh, it's because it's not pushed forward enough, is it? Anyway, it was a Asus TUF gaming laptop, and they're not bad laptops. It's just that this one came with the i5 and 8 gigs of memory. So again, we're going to do that inside peel that's pretty much invisible unless you know it's there. I always like to let my customers do the outside peel. Because not everybody wants my fingerprints all over their glass. And that helps keep it that way. But yeah, guys, she's all done, all wrapped up, and looks great. So I'm gonna get Windows installed on this guy and restore files to whichever of the two machines she actually wants me to. I don't know if I have a response back from her on that. Not yet. So anyway, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe down below, because I like doing these videos, and honestly, if you watch and you take anything from what I'm doing, that's awesome. This build here, like I said, just under $900, no graphics card. If I had a graphics card, we'd be at roughly $1,400, but it's a solid build either way. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.